Hey everybody, my name is Grayson. I'm the CEO for PERRLA. Thanks for joining us tonight. This is PERRLA 101. It is our weekly Thursday night webinar where we go over the basics of using PERRLA and how you can write your first paper. We have got two support people with us tonight hanging out. They are going to be answering questions live. So if during our time here this evening while I'm doing over how PERRLA works, if you got questions, drop them into chat. They will get you an answer. And then once I'm all done and wrapped up here, they'll be able to answer questions live as well. So if you want to see something in more detail, you want to talk about something else, they're here and available to do that. Before we kick off, though, we do have an amazing support team that's available every day via email at support@perrla.com. So if you have a question, you don't have to wait until Thursday night to hop in here. Shoot us an email right away. And during our working hours, we're going to get back to you really quickly. We're not like most software companies. We kind of send an email off into the void and you just hope and pray you might get an answer. We answer usually within about 30 minutes. So if you don't see something, make sure you check your spam in your inbox. But we'll be getting back to you. That's Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday, 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central Time. Okay, well, let's talk about PERRLA, how it works, and what you really came here for. So PERRLA is a software company that helps students write their APA, MLA, and Turabian papers. We know that writing papers is really hard. And when you're trying to juggle writing a good paper with keeping up with all the formatting rules, it's a lot to do. And honestly, the formatting can be kind of distracting from putting all the energy you need into writing a good paper that's going to get you an A. So what PERRLA does is we handle all the formatting for you. Now, you still have to write your paper, but we're going to make sure that whatever you write using PERRLA is formatted perfectly for the APA 7th edition, MLA 9th edition, or the Turabian 9th edition that uses footnotes. So you can use PERRLA in 4 different ways now, actually. We have a Microsoft Word add-in that works with the desktop version of Microsoft Word. That's the one that you download and install. We also, that same add-in will work with Word for Web. That's like Microsoft Word's Google Docs variation, which you use in a browser. We also have our very own web app called PERRLA Online that allows you to write papers inside of a web browser from wherever you're at as well. And then when you're done, you just download it as a Word document. And then the fourth one is actually kind of a complement to the other 3. It's a Google Chrome extension that allows you to create references while you're doing your research and actually take notes from that research to save into your PERRLA library so that you can use it in your paper while you're writing. Tonight, we're going to start off by looking at PERRLA Online. But one of the things that we really try hard to do is to make all of our interfaces look and work the same way. So if you know how to use one of our platforms, you're going to know how to use all of them pretty much. So with that, I'm going to share my screen and hopefully this will load up. All right, I think this is going. We're here on PERRLA.com, right? What's the first thing that we need to do? We need to log into our account, okay? So you can go to PERRLA.com, and if you're going to use our Word add-in, right, that gets installed in Word. We'll look at that in a second. But for PERRLA Online, you can log in to PERRLA Online right here. So that's how you can access it. Now, when you get into PERRLA Online, it's going to load you to our home dashboard. It's going to give you a list of a couple of things. You're going to see a list of your recent papers, right? The 5 most recent papers that you've edited, a list of the classes you may have created. This is a way of setting like some presets for your papers, and then a list of the references that you've created recently using PERRLA. Now, when we want to make a paper, right, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go up to the Create New button. We try to make things really simple, make our buttons really obvious. So create new, and I'm going to create a paper. Now, PERRLA can create 4 types of paper. We make research papers, which are your traditional essay, right? It's got the title page, it's got body pages, and it's got the reference page or reference section, right? This is what you're going to be doing when most people say, hey, I need you to write a paper for me. This is it. However, we also offer discussion posts. This is the body of the paper and the references all on one page so that it's really easy to copy and paste the content of your paper, your discussion post from PERRLA or from Word into your online forum like Blackboard or Canvas or Brightspace. We also do reference lists, which is a reference list, just a list of references on a single page, or an annotated bibliography, which is a reference list with annotations. Every time you add a reference, it's going to add a little paragraph where you can add an annotation for that reference. For our sake tonight, we're going to do the thing that most users end up doing and come to us for, which is research papers. So I'm going to choose research paper. Now, the first question is, what kind of paper is this? Is it APA, MLA, or Turabian? We're going to stick with APA tonight. And in APA, you can create both student and professional papers, which is very cool. The title pages are a little bit different, but we're going to go with the student paper tonight because we're all about helping students. The only field that's required in this is the title. Everything else is optional. So if you need to include it, fill in the field. If you don't need it, ignore it. Now, here at PERRLA, we always write about Bigfoot and other mythical cryptozoological creatures. So I'm going to say Bigfoot, the Truth Revealed is our paper this evening. It's pre-filling my name and institution. We're inside of Serena Sparkle's PERRLA account. She's our mascot. And I'm going to choose Cryptozoology 101 is what we're writing this paper for. Now, out of this, I got to move a little Zoom window, a date. Let's say we're getting a big head start on this, and this is going to be due on April 1st, 2026. All right, now I'm just going to click Create Research Paper. That's it. That's the whole process. PERRLA has made our document for us, set up our title page with all the correct formatting. We got all the right stuff on the title page. We got the page number, top right corner, all the right styles and fonts and margins. Everything is taken care of. We'll scroll down a little bit, and here we've got the body. We got the title repeated on the first line, like it requires for APA, and then a place where we can start typing our paper. That's it. I didn't have to do any funny settings work. I didn't have to make any adjustments. PERRLA just handled it all for me on the go. All right, now I've got a little bit of text copied into my clipboard that will give us a body for our paper about Bigfoot. And one of the great things about this body is that it has some quotes in it, like right here. Even so, the enduring appeal of the legend suggests that people see more than tracks. They see a story that refuses to end. Quite a motivational quote about Bigfoot. So I'm going to take, and we need to put a citation, right? We need to say, where did this quote come from? Got to give credit where credit's due. And so I'm going to place my cursor right in front of the period, right? Getting ready to create that citation. But to make a citation, the first thing we need to do is we need to have a reference to cite, right? So in PERRLA, the UI has sort of two major components, and it's going to be the same thing inside of Microsoft Word as well. We've got a ribbon tab or panel across the top. It's going to have all of our PERRLA tools in it. And then you have a panel on the side where you're going to be able to interact with all those different tools. Now, the one that you're going to spend probably 99.9% of your time in is references and citations. This is where you're going to create those references, add references from your PERRLA library, and then create citations for said references. So we've already got that open on the side over here. Now here we can do two things. We can create a new reference, which we'll look at in just a second, or we can add a reference that we've created in a previous paper. Every time you create a reference with PERRLA, we save it into your library. So that way you don't have to go and recreate it the next time you're doing your paper. We've got it saved. We've got all the right information. You can just add it to your paper. So let's add just a couple to this paper first. So I'll say add reference from library. And then I'm going to search my library for all of my Bigfoot references. Right? We'll add this one from R.J. Bellamy right here. Let's go down a little bit. And then we're going to add this digging into the enduring myth of Bigfoot. Now, when I added those to my paper, if we scroll down, we'll see PERRLA built our reference page for us. It added the references page right there at the end, and it formatted it perfectly. And it's going to keep all of those references perfectly in line the entire time. So let's actually go back and add this one by Chafin right here. You can see it's going to put that in the right spot. If I come down a long ways, let's add this one by Radcliffe. That's a good one right there. And then by Porter. PERRLA keeps all of it in line and keeps it formatted exactly how it's supposed to be. It's really simple. All right, let's say that's enough. We'll say finished. We're going to go back in here. Now I have references that I can take and I can cite inside of my paper. But let's look at what it looks like to create a reference for the first time. All right, so I'm going to go to create a new reference, and I'm going to click it. Now, PERRLA can create every single type of APA reference that's listed in that book. We took a lot of time and built our engine from scratch in-house, and we compared all of its results against the APA manual so that every single thing you can do in there, you can do with PERRLA. So if you've got a journal article that was translated from a book chapter in German, right, we can make that reference. You're not going to find that anywhere else. We can also do all sorts of other types of references like advertisements and anthologies, charts, infographics, and maps, manuscripts, newspapers, press releases, data sets, right? Artwork, music, podcasts, TV, bills and resolutions, government reports and regulations, gray literature, blog, online comment, social media, and web pages, right? We can do every single type of APA reference. But if you're doing one of the big common reference types like a book, a journal article, or a website, instead of having to type in all that information manually, you can actually search for its bibliographic information by using a certain piece of info. So like for journal articles, if you're trying to find a journal article's information, you can use the DOI, right? The digital object identifier. We're going to go out to a database called Crossref, the largest DOI database in the world, and we're going to pull back the bibliographic information and pre-fill your PERRLA form. If you're looking for a book, right, you can use the ISBN. That's that number that's right above the barcode on the back of the book. And every single book has a unique one. So we can go out, we can grab that and pull it back in. Or if you're trying to cite a website or web page, use the URL. It's the link for every web page, right? Put it in. We're going to try to scrape the information off of it and pre-fill it. Now, I've got a bunch of DOIs and things that I use fairly often, but let's try this one out. So I'm going to copy the DOI. So if I was doing my research, I might copy it off the journal article page. I'm going to paste it in here, and then I'm going to choose search. Now, I've used this one in a previous demo, so just ignore this bit. I'm just going to say create duplicate reference. If you were doing this yourself, you could say use my existing reference. That way you don't create duplicates in your library. Create duplicate. Great. All right, PERRLA's gone out. It's pulled back that information. It's pre-filled the form for us. But we need to review this information first, right? It was some person, right, who put that information into the database, and people make mistakes. So we're going to make sure that their mistakes don't make their way into our paper. First thing, we're going to make sure, yep, this is the right type. It is a journal. It's a journal article, and it's a single published article, right? So if this was like an in-press article, an editorial, or fourth language or translated work, we could choose one of those. That's going to pre-fill our contributor name. This is by D. Coltman and C. Davis. We have our article title, Molecular Cryptozoology Meets the Sasquatch. Journal name, publication year, volume number, issue number, page numbers, DOI. It's all there, and it's looking great, right? At the very bottom of this panel, I'm going to get a live preview so I can see what this is going to look like when it gets out of my paper. But I think this looks pretty good. So I'm going to choose next. And then here I could put in some optional information, right? Like if I wanted to give a description or I wanted to create some tags for my reference to help organize my reference library. But we won't bother with that right now. We're just going to say create. PERRLA is going to create the reference. It's going to add it into my references and citations panel here. And then if I go down here to the references, you're going to see right there, boom, there's Coltman and Davis ready to be cited. So let's do that. Let's do the thing that we started a few minutes ago, right? We wanted to cite this quote at the end of the first paragraph. So I'm going to place my cursor where I want the citation to appear, right? Which is right before the terminal period in APA. And then I'm going to choose add citation underneath the reference I want to cite. Let's cite the Coltman reference. Perfect. Let's come from there. And because this was a direct quote, we're going to add a page number. Let's say that this is page 67. 67, and then I'll say create citation. That's it. PERRLA creates the citation for us. It puts us inside the parentheses, makes sure that the name and the publication year and the location is all correct, and it's sitting there ready to go, right? If I wanted, I could take and I could see that citation. I can actually edit it. So actually, you know what? This was going to be on page 68. I mistyped that. And maybe in the sentence I said, according to Coltman and Davis, yada, yada, yada. I could uncheck the contributor's name box and leave that out of my citation. See, but we just got the wrong page number, so we'll update that here. PERRLA keeps updated for us. Now, it's really a process of just sort of rinse and repeat, right? Continuing to write our paper, adding in our references and our research, and then adding the references to PERRLA and using the PERRLA to create the citations for it. So I just keep on typing until I've got my paper finished, right? But there's more that goes into an APA, MLA, or Trabian paper than just references and citations. And PERRLA's got some great tools to help you with those things as well. So for instance, you can add additional sections to your paper, right? You could add an abstract, a table of contents, or an appendix to your paper. You can also add text and heading styles, right? If you need to add a couple of sections to history of Bigfoot, right? I could take and I could add those headings in and then choose the heading style from the panel. PERRLA's going to format that for us correctly. I can insert figures and tables, so maybe a picture of Bigfoot or a table of the number of sightings that have happened every decade over the last 100 years. In PERRLA Online and Word, you do have access to research notes, right? Let's see here. I think I've got some notes. Yeah, Bellamy. Oh, well, these are great research notes here, but you'll get the point. Let's take, and I'm going to add this great shift and enter note right here, right? I can just click and drag that into my paper where I want it to be. PERRLA is going to take and it's going to create the note, and it's going to create the citation that's attached to the note. So this is one of those things where, like, using the Google Chrome extension, I could take and highlight text out of a journal article and add it into my library, and it would show up here inside of my research notes. No, that's not any better. But you get the idea. You have a quote, you have a great citation, you can pull it into your paper. In PERRLA Online, you get an extra special tool called Outline. This allows you, let me take you over to the outline editor real quick, to create an outline for your paper, right? To organize your ideas and your thoughts into a nice structure, a nice layout for your paper before you get started. And then once you're inside the editor, inside of the outline tool, I'll be able to see my outline and see, like, yep, I made that point, check it off, and then move through the list. All right. Now, that's just some of what PERRLA does, and that's sort of just touching on the high points. But what do we do when we're done, right? I've got a great paper here. It looks great. It's got references. It's got some citations in it. I'm ready to submit this to my professor, but it's in PERRLA Online. Well, inside of PERRLA Online and inside of the Word add-in, when you're done writing your paper, you're going to go to the big green button called I'm finished, right? I'm finished. I'm done. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to download or create what's called a clean copy, okay? Now, as I've moved my mouse around, you may have seen these boxes showing up every once in a while around citations or around the title page or even down here around the references. These are called content controls, and they exist both in PERRLA Online and inside of Microsoft Word. The content controls allow us to know where the different elements of your paper live. So we know where that citation is. We know where the references are in your paper. We know what content you have on your title page. And when we know that information, we can do special things with it. So for instance, if you're citing multiple articles from the CDC website, right, they're all going to have the same author, which is an organizational author for the Centers of Disease Control, and they're all going to have the same publication year. Well, the citations for each of those different references, those different websites, right, are going to look the exact same. So APA has you add an A or a B or a C or a D to the end of the publication year so that you can distinguish between them, both in the citation and in the reference. PERRLA, because we know where those things are, does that for you. We automatically update your references and citations, adding that A and that B appropriately. Or if you're using that same organization, the Centers for Disease Control, the first time you cite it, right, you put that acronym in there with the organizational name. It's going to say Centers for Disease Control, and then in brackets, CDC. And then for all subsequent citations, it's just going to say CDC, right? To try to abbreviate and keep it short. Because we know where the first citation is and all your subsequent citations are, we can automatically keep that updated for you. So if you add a new citation at the beginning, we'll update the other ones so that that one now has the full name and all the other ones have just the abbreviation. So that's what content controls are. Now, most professors, especially when they know that you're using PERRLA, are happy to have perfect APA formatting and are happy to see that you've used a tool to make sure that they don't have to waste any time grading bad APA. However, some professors don't like content controls at all. They want you to do it the hard way because they had to do it the hard way, or maybe they just don't like them. It's all right. We give you a way with this clean copy to make a version of your paper that doesn't have any of the content controls in it. It still has all the perfect APA formatting that you need and you expect and that you get with PERRLA, but it just drops the content controls out. So it's text only. So I'm going to create this, and I'm going to say, create a clean copy of this paper. Now, PERRLA is going to download that paper to my computer. If I open that up, boom, here you go. You can see I've got a great looking Word document here. Those content controls are gone. Title page, we've got the body right here with our citation in place and that great research note that we pulled out, right? I can keep scrolling down. This is all looking really good. And then here we are. I've got a great reference section here at the end as well. And I've got a great, beautiful document ready to save and print if I'm going to slide it under the professor's door or send off as an email. attachment or upload into Canvas, Brightspace, or Blackboard. And that's the whole process. That's how you create a paper, right? You create the paper, add your references, build your citations, and then download it as a clean copy. That's all there is to it. Pretty straightforward. So let's look at this now inside of Microsoft Word, because it's going to be a very similar process, just a slightly different place. So here I am inside of Microsoft Word. Now, if you haven't installed PERRLA into Word yet, you can do that on the Home ribbon tab over here in the Add-ins button, right? If you got a little tiny window like this, sometimes the add-in window disappears, but it looks like a red square with 4 smaller red squares inside it. So I'm going to click that, and I'm just going to type PERRLA, just like that. Now I'm going to do is I'm going to say add. That's it. Microsoft Word is going to handle everything else. It's going to install the PERRLA add-in into your version of Word. And then up here at the top, you're going to see a ribbon bar that says PERRLA. Welcome to PERRLA. Got it. So I'm going to come over here. And now you're going to see a very similar looking ribbon bar across the top, right? We got our title page, abstract, table of contents, references and citations, research notes, text and heading styles, figures, tables. I'm finished, right? It's there. There's a couple other buttons though. So let's talk about that. Since we don't have the big home dashboard to go to, we instead have a create a new paper option here inside of Microsoft Word, right? So I can create that research post just like I did inside of, I got to log in. Just like I did inside of PERRLA Online, right? And it's going to, I know this is a clean copy of a paper. Thank you very much, PERRLA, for telling me that, but I want to create a research paper. Here we go. Same form right here, right? Also Bigfoot. And we're going to skip the rest of this. I'm going to say create research paper. Now, in PERRLA Online, right, it's made that document inside of PERRLA Online. But here, since we're inside of Word, it made a new Word document for us, right? And here you can see it is putting in those same content controls so we can keep track of that information in your paper. And I've got the body of my paper ready to go where I could paste in some text, right? So let's see here. Let's go put in a little random text for us, right? There's not a references page yet because we haven't added any references. And APA says if you haven't added a reference, don't get a reference page. So let's fix that by going over to references and citations, right? Same UI, same experience. We got a ribbon bar across the top and a panel on the side. We can add references from our library, just like before. Let's add that Coltman reference we made just a little bit ago. PERRLA is going to take and it's going to build my references page for me. And it's going to add the reference to the paper, just like that. Just like in PERRLA Online, it's keeping it organized, keeping it updated, making sure that it's following all the APA rules, which is great. Just like before, we can add citations, we can add text headings, we can add tables, figures, whole 9 yards. It's all there. Let's talk about 2 slightly different buttons that we have in here. All right. One is save to PERRLA, right? Every time you use PERRLA inside of Microsoft Word, we make a backup of the paper. That way, in case a meteor comes streaking out of the sky and crashes into your computer, you've got a backup in the PERRLA servers that you can rely on and you can download. I had a personal experience where my laptop literally caught on fire the night before my final was due, and I lost my entire thing. With PERRLA, that wouldn't have happened. This was way back in the day. But here you can see, here's the versions of this paper that I made. If you've been working for a little while and you haven't used PERRLA, you want to make a manual save of your paper to the PERRLA servers, not a problem. I can click Save My Paper Now. PERRLA is going to save the version of your paper right as it is to the PERRLA servers, so that way you've got a backup of it, right? Bingo, right there. Now I can go into PERRLA Online at any point. I'm going to my papers right here. Also Bigfoot right there. See, now I can see a preview of what that paper looks like. Yeah, here we go. That looks pretty good. I can download it as a Word document. I can download a PDF. I could print it. If I go to the overview tab, I'm going to be able to see a list of all the different Word versions that I've got and download each of those versions, right? We keep these for 30 days, then they roll off. So you have 30 days worth of history for your papers all the time right there inside of PERRLA Online, whether you're using PERRLA Online or Word. All right, let's talk about the last thing. I've finished. I just want to show you how this works here, which is the same. Create a clean copy. Perfect. Great. It's making a new document, a new Word document for me, right? You can see I've got both of them right here, also Bigfoot and this new also Bigfoot, but those content controls are gone, right? So this is a version of the paper that's ready for me to turn in and submit to my professor. That's it. That's how you use Microsoft Word's version of PERRLA. You can do the same thing in Word for Web, which is super cool, but it's going to be the same UI, pretty much the same process, and we won't have to dig through that all over again. The last thing that we have is the Google Chrome extension, which I can show you right here. Right, you can install that on Google Chrome or any Chromium-based browser. So that includes Microsoft Edge on Windows computers, Brave, Vivaldi, a couple of other ones. But any of those that use Chromium as a base, you can install our Google Chrome extension. You can create new references while you're doing your research. You can also add those research notes right to your references while you're doing your research as well. So that way they're all there. And then when it comes time to write your paper, you can just drag and drop them right in. So yeah, that's it. That's how you use PERRLA. We've got a web application, PERRLA Online. We work inside of Word Desktop and Word for Web. And we have a Google Chrome extension. And we have got an absolutely amazing customer support team. So if you ever run into trouble, we're here to help you out. We're going to make sure that you get that paper written successfully. You're not losing points on your APA, MLA, or Turabian. And it's going to be a positive experience for you. All right. As always, if you want help and you just want to find something, you can always go to perrla.com/help. Right? That's just our help center here. We've got a lot of great articles on how to use Microsoft Word and PERRLA inside of Microsoft Word, how to use PERRLA Online, how to use our Chrome extension. And then we've actually just recently added in writing papers, a whole class series of lessons on APA, how to learn APA, get started with APA, things like that. So yeah, we're all here hoping to help. All right, I think that covers just about everything that I had to go over, and I think we're just a minute under or a minute over, but pretty close. So at this point, I'm going to turn things over to our customer support team and let them answer any questions you guys have. Remember, we're always here. We're happy to help, and thanks for joining us. Thanks for using PERRLA, and good writing, everybody.